proceed with data security laws in India. And like we said, there isn't much in India happening on this front from the very beginning. The developments have been very recent, because the IT Act was passed just in 2000, and a lot has been coming up very often that we need to work on. So the main problem with India and data security is that we don't really have a proper module in legal ethics or professional ethics. It's still not a full course in law schools. There's a small portion for to take up and a little exam that you give with your at the end of the year. So we don't really have any certification course in this area, and even if there are laws coming up right now, implementation is slightly a problem. So for now what we have is IT Act as the major law in this field, and we will see at the important sections of this particular act. Now this act, what it does is it covers both civil and criminal liabilities. So we will take a look at this as to what exactly civil and criminal laws cover. If we just take a look at this side, there are a few sections here. 43A and 43B both cover civil liabilities. Now 43A covers cracking, computer trespass, etc., and it has penalty for damages imposed, and 43B covers digital copying, violation of privacy, data extraction from removable storage mediums, and then you have civil prosecution for these two areas. So that was civil liabilities under the IT Act. Under section 43, it actually covers 43 clause A to H, but we have got 2 here, and I suggest you take a look at the other sections. Also on the criminal liability front, there are certain important sections, and we will discuss 2 sections here, which is section 66 and 72. Now section 66 covers destroying or altering information on a database. So it specifically mentions the medium, which is the database, to cause damage or to affect value or utility. So it has got certain aspects to it. Any act which destroys or alters information, which information, not just any information, but information on a database to cause damage or affect value or utility, and the punishment for this particular offence is imprisonment up to 3 years or fine of up to 2 lakh rupees. Also section 72 covers breach of confidentiality or privacy. Now we have dealt with privacy in detail earlier, and then it goes on in abuse of powers. Now if there is any breach of confidentiality and privacy, the remedy available is imprisonment for 2 years to the breacher or fine of 1 lakh rupees or both. Now that is criminal and civil liabilities covered under the IT Act. Apart from the civil and criminal liabilities mentioned above, the IT Act also fixes liability on network service providers. Now network service providers, when, in which case, if they obtain access to materials such as any electronic records, books, registers, and disclose such information without the consent of the owner of information. Now if there is consent, there is no question about infringing any IT rules, but if you do this without consent of the owner of the information, then obviously you are in trouble if you are a service provider, or the network service provider to be precise. So it has got more to do with data security apart from just civil and criminal liabilities. We move on forward. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, there is not much law covering this area, nothing active really. It still is taking time, and more than anything, there is still a lot to come. But what have LPO started doing is, because of the anxiety that lies with the clients in the US and the UK, they have started coming up with new remedies or new provisions to put their fear to rest. And now this was done by a certificate called ISO. Now what is ISO? Take a look at International Organization of Standardization, that is the ISO, and their certificate 27001. Now Bodhi Global was one of the first LPOs to get this certificate almost a year back in May 2008. So they've got this certificate which assures the foreign authorities that we do have adequate level of data security and information technology and information security management systems. So it assures the other clients or the foreign clients with the fact that we have proper systems in place to secure your information that you provide to us. So do a little research on ISO certificates, and like I said, Bodhi Global, you should know, since you aspiring to work in LPOs, each one of you should know that Bodhi Global is one of the first Indian LPOs to get this certificate. Also, now when we move on to confidentiality or client confidentiality, it is very, very important to know that communication between attorneys and their clients has traditionally been described as privileged communication, meaning it has absolute protection from disclosure. Whatever communication takes place between a client and the attorney is privileged communication, and no one else should know it. Now obviously every rule comes with an exception, and this rule too has an exception, and we'll deal with certain exceptions in some time, but the concept of client confidentiality should be looked at in a little detail. Now this concept first evolved in English systems in the 16th century, and later it was incorporated into the US common law. The development of newer forms of communication, especially electronic, has posed challenges to this privileged communication. And we need not emphasize on this fact, we already know the effects of this electronic development that has been happening and how it is dangerous for, or it provides high risk for security breaches. So that was data confidentiality, client confidentiality, and the relevant laws are different in different countries. We will see what it is in the US, the England and Wales, and India that protect client lawyer communications. Now in America, there's American Bar Association rules, and in our legal research exercises we have covered ABA to a much greater extent. So I guess you are very familiar with the term and the association, its work, its fields that it covers, and it should not be something new for you, since we've got a lot of questions on American Bar Association in internet research. So you do know American Bar Association, it takes care of this client confidentiality rules. It has certain rules that it covers. Rule 1.6 covers confidentiality of information. Now what does it do? It says that any conversation or any communication between the attorney and his client shall not be disclosed to anybody unless, of course, now that's where I was talking about the exceptions, unless the attorney has to do it to prevent a particular death or some crime on his client's behalf or some fraud that might take place. Also, if non-disclosure would cause any injury to other person or its property, then the disclosure obviously becomes very important. So these are a few cases when the attorney should disclose the facts and can do away with the privileged communication clause. There are some more rules to it. There is also a rule that says that partners in firms and lawyers must strive to ensure that all the lawyers working under him or her follow or obey or conform to the rules of ABA. That's very important. So that's the duty of the partner of the firm. In LPO, it would be the LPO responsible for its legal professionals working under it. And there is responsibility of a subordinate lawyer. Now what is the subordinate lawyer's responsibility? That is, a lawyer is bound by the rules even if he is acting under the directions of a superior. So even if you are reporting to somebody and that somebody says or tells you to go against the ethics, you can't, because you will be equally liable for your act. So it's advised that don't go against the ethics, and don't really, because you're responsible and that's your responsibility as a subordinate lawyer. You'll be answerable for your actions. Now that's the case for ABA. In England, there is something called Solicitors Practice Rules in England and Wales. What do these rules cover? Again, it's more or less the same thing. There is duty of confidentiality, there is duty of disclosure. Now, confidentiality is that solicitors have a duty to keep all their clients' affairs confidential. Duty of disclosure would mean that a solicitor is required to disclose to a client any information that he or she is aware of in relation to the client's matter in ordinary circumstance, regardless of the source of such information. So, no matter what source gave this information, he should not disclose it. That's his duty, or solicitor's duty. Also, it lays down that a solicitor cannot put confidentiality at risk whether or not client's consent is involved. So, irrespective of client's consent, the attorney or the solicitor, as the term is used in UK, you cannot put confidentiality to risk. And now we come down to India and Indian laws on confidentiality. In India, there is again the scenario something like it was for data security in US. It's quite scattered. It's a little bit here and a little bit there. It obviously has the Advocates Act, it has the Bar Council rules, and then to a certain extent even the Indian Constitution and Indian Evidence Act cover client confidentiality to a greater extent. I will give you some additional reading for this module, but before that I would just like to mention the Indian Evidence Act that actually deals with confidentiality. That's section 126. This section provides that certain communications and conversations between an attorney and his client must remain outside the ambit of public knowledge. And under Article 21 of the Constitution, again the confidentiality has been spoken about. It talks about confidentiality under privacy, which again comes under the right to life. So, that's Constitution and Indian Evidence Act talking about confidentiality. Obviously, you would be aware as a lawyer about Bar Council rules and the Advocates Act. They have a list of ethics to follow, and if there is any breach, then obviously the remedies are given and penalties have been mentioned. Now, like I said, there are certain additional readings to this module, and I would suggest that you take a look at these readings. Some are articles, some are websites. I've already advised you to go through the ICO website, that is the Information Commissioner for UK. Take a look at it and see what it talks about data security. There are certain guidelines provided. That apart, it is what I would like to suggest here is on the Rainmaker website, if you go subscribe yourself for the Rainmaker newsletter, which I would suggest you should. There is article by Tarini Arogyaswamy, who is your LEAP subject head. She has written a very beautiful article. It's very, very important that you take a look, and she speaks about legal ethics, and she obviously discusses India, US, UK and Europe to a certain extent. Take a look at it. It's a very good read, and if possible subscribe. It's pretty simple to subscribe for the newsletter. Visit the Rainmaker website at www.rainmaker.co.in and take a read at that article. It will help you a lot to understand this ethic and LPO relationship. Also, there is another article which is called, if you just take a look at this website here, it says the article is called LPO Addressing Security Concerns by Stephen Belinfanti, and you can find it on the website. I'll definitely put it on eMentor, and so that it's easier for you, but if you want to take a note of it, you can do that right now. I'll repeat again, it's LPO Addressing Security Concerns by Stephen Belinfanti. Another essay which is very important is the essay on privacy laws in the US by Ronald B. Standler. It is a very good and interesting read. and I suggest you take a read. He talks about the history of privacy and data security, a very good read. That apart, there are specific guidelines on data security which I have already mentioned. You can take a look at the ICO website at www.ico.gov.uk. Another very interesting article by J. Conley on data security. Links will be provided as I mentioned earlier. And last but not the least, article by Tarni Arogyaswamy. Do subscribe, because it will tell you a lot about not just ethics. Apart from ethics, there is a lot that comes up. There are frequent updates on the industry on whole, what's happening, what's coming up, a lot more. And that is about the legal ethics and the data security and client confidentiality. But since we have little time left, what I would also like to do is show you guys how to register yourself on the Westlaw website, because there are a lot of queries and so much anxiety on how to do it. I don't know this, I don't know that, something's wrong with the link. So let's just see what we can do. I'll take you through the process of registering yourself on Westlaw. So about this particular class, if you have any questions on LPO and ethics, if you have suggestions, if you find any good reads, don't forget to share it on eMentor. You can post all your queries on virtual classroom. It will be answered in 48 hours. We'll try and be as quick as possible, but yes, 48 hours is the time limit. And now we'll just take a look at the Westlaw certification course, since there are so many queries on it. Now this is the web page. I'll read the link out. It's paralegal, that is PARALEGAL.Westlaw, that would be WEST West LAW.com. So paralegal.westlaw.com, and this is the web page that you would see. Now here it says go to West e-learning and click on Westlaw for paralegals to get started. So we click on West e-learning and wait for the page to upload, and let's see what comes up. So this is the page that has been shown on the screen. It says registered user login. If you already registered, you can log in here. If not, you need to register yourself by clicking on register, which is absolutely free. So make the most of this particular service, and what you could do is you click on register if you're already not registered, and you create your training account. How does one do that? You need to fill up certain information here, and that would be your first name. So you type in your first name here, your last name, email address to which you want Westlaw to send you their password, because you obviously don't have a password since you're creating account. So you type in your email address, whichever address you want to receive mails from Westlaw, and then it reads out Westlaw password. Pick one of the options below. Now the options given are my Westlaw password is, you don't have one, so you don't select this. Then I don't know my Westlaw password, which is true, but then you need to get one. So third option is I am not a current customer, which is the right option. So you click on here, and two other boxes have opened out here. There is a drop down box here. So it asks you for organization name. So just say student. If you are working for a particular organization, you can put that name as well, but safest would be to just type in student. And organization type, just drop this box down, and there are categories. So you can say law school or others. So if once you select that, you can put it in here. Make sure you fill up all the information required. Then there are email options, which says I would like to receive information about Westlaw products and services. If you would, please tick this box. If you would not, no need to opt for it. Also, there is I would like to receive information about training opportunities, which you would want to actually receive this information. It will only help you if there are any new training options coming up, and if it interests you, you might as well take it. So if you want, you can take any of these options. If you don't want, simply fill in this information, and go for create my account. So once your account is created, you can come back to this page here and use your email address and the password that you've got on the email address provided by you on this register web page. Use that password. You can later on edit that password and make it to anything easier to remember. Once you register, you copy that password from the mail account that you've subscribed to, get the password, put in the details here, and the Paralegal Scores will open up. Once that opens up, you do the complete course, listen to certain audios that Westlaw has to offer, and your certificates will be emailed to you on the given email address. Once you get these certificates, you need to upload it on eMentor, and that's all about it. It's pretty simple. Do not hesitate to contact us with any other query on Westlaw on virtual classroom, and we'll be happy to help. That's about it. Thank you so much for your time and joining us today. Thanks a lot.